So it's great to have Helen Reynolds with us this morning to talk a bit about anxiety. Helen is, she told me, a consultant psychiatrist in the community, which is the most terrifying sounding job in the world. But it's great to have you with us this morning, Helen. Every week, we're going to be asking someone to kick us off by saying one thing that they're grateful for. In times of uncertainty, when we're anxious and worried, having a practice of gratitude can be really helpful. So give us one thing, Helen, today that you are grateful for.
Right now, probably my back garden, just because I'm fortunate enough to have it. It's I can see the birds, I can see kind of spring flowers and all that kind of stuff, and it's probably my kind of go-to place when I'm feeling a bit hemmed in.
Yeah, having a green space is really helpful, isn't it? I think for me, the thing that I'm grateful for at the moment is a sense of routine. So there's been loads of change and all that kind of stuff happening, but every morning me and Alice sit down and have a coffee together, and we do that whether we're in lockdown or whether we're going to work as normal, and trying to find like a baseline consistency. I find that really helpful. So I'm really grateful for nice coffee.
Yeah.
So we're thinking a bit about anxiety today. So what is anxiety, Helen?
Right, okay. So anxiety...
it's a big question.
Is a normal... what do you say?
It's a big question.
It is a big question. It is a massive question. And I guess I'd start off by saying anxiety is normal. It's something that would protect us. It's a response to a threat. So it's something that we've evolved with, and that is part of who we are. It's a physiological thing. And so if you're faced with a threat, so I don't know, a lion enters your house or something, then you need to be anxious in order to fight it or run away or freeze or whatever your response would be. So to a certain degree, anxiety is normal. It also helps us to perform well. So if we're going to do an exam or something, then we need a little bit of anxiety to help us to prep and therefore get the best results. But for some people, anxiety kind of takes over. It can consume them. It can kind of pervade into like different parts of their lives. It can develop into phobias, all kinds of things. And then it becomes, I guess, a disorder or an illness or a condition or whatever you want to call it. So then, then it's an issue.
That's really helpful to know that it's normal to feel anxious, that's a normal reaction response. I think sometimes we can think that, we shouldn't feel like that, because we're Christians, we should never be worried or anxious or whatever. But actually for us to hear that feeling anxious is okay. When I was a kid, anxious is like a big word if you're a kid, isn't it? But my mum would say, "Are you worried about anything?" And I would always have things that I was worried about. Whether I would tell her or not is like another matter. But I would be like worried about exams or worried about friendships and relationships and all that kind of stuff. And to know that actually like being worried or being anxious is a totally normal thing.
It's totally normal. It is totally normal. I suppose it becomes abnormal when it takes over or when it starts to hinder your functioning. If you're anxious about work but you can get into work and perform and it's fine, that's okay. But if you're anxious about work and actually you can't even get into work or you can't function when you're there or then that's not fine, is it? So that it's kind of a bit of a continuum, really. So for some, it's normal, and for others, it's it's just all consuming and horrible. And as an illness, I think it's a horrible illness. It's uncomfortable. It feels rubbish. It feels disabling. It feels shameful for some people. And like you said, I suppose for us as Christians as well, it kind of feels like we shouldn't be anxious because we've got God, and and I think it's probably quite a taboo subject, or has been.
So what can we be doing when we're feeling an unhealthy level of anxiety? So when that feeling feels emotional and overwhelming, when it's not, when it's leading us to do things that we don't want to do, what are some good kind of coping strategies or tips and tricks for that moment?
For the moment, well, I guess for everybody it's different for a start. So I think you have to find your own way. I don't think there's any kind of right or wrong way. I think the other thing to know is that the anxious response is a physiological kind of brain chemicals, different types of your brain thing, and we can't really control that. So your brain's kind of split up into different sections, and you've got this kind of like childish brain that responds to everything, and there's not a lot we can do about that.
Some of us have bigger childish brains than others.
Well, that's probably true. Yeah. And some of that, so the brain that, yeah. So if you've ever read the chimp paradox, that's worth reading. It talks about a chimp. You've got a chimp in your head that you need to train, and kind of the chimpish thing is the thing that gets anxious. So it's different for everyone. I think the first thing to do is just to know that it's okay, and that it's kind of rational, and that it's part of your body. It's a body response. And that there will be other people going through it. I think the other really important thing is to learn about it and really understand. If you can understand how your brain works and how your body works, and why you've got butterflies, and why you're breathing more heavily, and why your heart's going, it's because your body thinks you need to run away or you need to fight. It kind of helps to understand what's going on. I'm not having a heart attack right now. I'm just a bit nervous because you might ask me a bad question. You know, that kind of thing. Breathing sounds a bit lame, but obviously it's essential. But there's ways of breathing, and breathing deeply and slowly can help stimulate what they call the parasympathetic nervous system. So that kind of calms you down. That's your calming system. So kind of breathing exercises, meditation, that kind of thing.
They're all really helpful. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to close us by leading us in a breathing exercise, if that's okay. I love the sound of the box breathing, kind of in for 4, hold your breath, and then out. One of the things that we're going to ask everyone in church to do this week is to make a worry monster. So one of the things that our worries love to do is they love to be hidden and inside. And when they're inside and we're not talking about them, we're not expressing them, they can kind of build up and up and up, can't they? Until eventually they become overwhelming. And one of the things that it can be really helpful to do is to get those worries kind of out there into the world so that we can talk about them. So we're going to ask everyone in church to imagine that their worries are a monster. So I don't know how your worry monster is going to look, Helen, but I might make mine out of a cereal packet with like kind of yogurt carton legs, or I might draw it or something. And then we're going to ask people to write on it what are the things that are worrying them at the moment. So it might be that there's something around school or home or work, or just the kind of feeling of not knowing what's going on. And then we're going to suggest to people that they take a moment to talk about what those worries are with someone that they can trust. It might be a parent, it might be a friend, it might be another member of their family, and to begin to have those conversations about what's making us feel worried or anxious. So we're going to show you a bit later on in the service what the worry monsters are that me and Alice have begun to make, and then we're going to share them on social media. And we would love it if everyone at home who's made one of those would share it with us so that we can see it. So why don't you lead us in a breathing exercise, Helen?
Okay, right. Okay, so maybe wherever you are, maybe just close your eyes for a start, and just focus first of all on how you're breathing. So just be aware that you breathe in and you breathe out. You might want to take a deeper breath, so maybe breathe in and just count to 4, and then maybe hold it, and then maybe breathe out through your mouth and hold it again, and just kind of keep doing that, whatever feels comfortable. And as you're doing that, then just be aware of what your body is doing. So maybe just kind of scan through. So be aware that maybe your feet are on the floor. What does that feel like? Where your legs are, what you sat on, what you can actually feel, what your breathing's doing again, what your heart's doing, where your hands are. And then maybe while you're doing that, just be aware of what you can hear around you, and just take some time. Maybe what you can smell, and what you can taste. And then maybe just return to your breathing again. And as you breathe in, just think of a piece of scripture. So for me, it would be still. So I might think, be still as I breathe in. And then as I breathe out, and know. So that's be still and know that I am God. And just have that awareness of where you are and who sits with you. And we'll leave it at that.
That was so good. I feel the most zen version of myself that I felt the entire lockdown. So that was great. Good. Helen, thank you so much for giving up your time to share your experience and expertise. I'm sure that everyone else is, but I'm really grateful for the consistency and the wisdom that you bring to our community. And thank you so much as well for the work that you're doing to help keep people well in our community. We really value that, and that's an important part of our calling as Christians, isn't it, to care for the people around us. So we're really grateful to you for everything you're doing. So thank you very much for joining us today.
See you soon.